Welcome back to Retirement Coffee Talk with Charisse Rivers at Zinnia Wealth. Online, find us, zinniawealth.com. Charisse, we were talking about pensions there. If somebody tells me that they've got a pension from the post office, a government pension, they work for the state, they worked for a hospital, they worked for the railroad, whatever, that's such a great thing to have that check continue. But when you go into retirement, you have to make a decision. Am I going to take a monthly check from my previous employer, or am I going to take a lump sum and I'm going to take that money into my own control? That seems like a good idea. But here's a study from Harris that says 21% of retirees that took the lump sum ran out of money in 5.5 years. They didn't manage it correctly. So talk to me about that, Charisse. We talk about it's a good thing in many cases to take the lump sum, but right here we see people didn't manage it well.
Right. Well, that's because people are trying to be their own pension managers and they feel like, hey, if we take this lump sum, now we can pay off the house. But they forget, hey, if we take 100 or 200 grand out of our lump sum to pay off the house, you got a 30 to 40% tax bill. So more money out of that IRA is going to pay the taxes. And then you need a new car. So you feel like you're getting yourself already set to go so that there's no debt. But you got to plan that before that moment. Those things should have already been taken care of before you turn in those keys to your employer, right? But sometimes that doesn't happen. So this is a high percentage. And this is my advice. When an employer says, hey, you can get a guaranteed income for life or you can take the lump sum and roll it to an IRA, make sure you're sitting down with a retirement financial planner first and foremost to do the math, to show you on the big screen what it looks like if you do, if you don't. And here's the math on this. Most advisors won't tell you this, but if you are getting 6% guaranteed income from that lump sum, then it's a really good deal.
Okay.
Right? Up front, it's a really good deal. So I tell a lot of people, if you have money saved elsewhere and we can put that into a plan to create an inflation protection strategy, then sometimes it is better to take the employer plan. But when you take that employer plan, you're putting your money into it's called an immediate annuity. I don't like immediate annuities unless it's only through an employer and they're paying you 6% of that lump sum. But the only problem you have is that you're going to get that paycheck for the rest of your life. That is the same paycheck that you get, hear me out, for the rest of your life. But there's no inflation increase on 90% of those paychecks. Mm-hmm. So if you get let's say $4,000 a month pension today, is that $4,000 a month going to cover your bills in 10 years? And the answer is no. Right now, if you really think about it, the Federal Reserve is trying to chomp down and pull back the reins and get the inflation rate down to 2%. If we get the interest rate down to 2%, that means the cost of goods and everything that we're spending today, it'll take us 20 years before it's going to double. If we leave it at 3%, everything will double in 10 years. So think about that. Let's say the Federal Reserve never gets it down to 2% and it stays a higher rate. That means everything's going to double. The things you're paying for right now is going to double a lot sooner than 10 years, right? So that's the whole reasoning between the government trying to lower interest rates, which is, it's a tough number. So let's now go back to your pensions. And if all the things you're doing today are going to double in 10 years because we can't get the interest rates down, that pension is not enough. So a lot of times we will encourage people to take the lump sum or roll it to an IRA. There's no taxes or penalties. If you really like that income check for life, we can say, let's take half of it and give you that income for life. And let's take the other half and create an inflation protected plan, an inflation protected income plan so that if things double in 10 years or 20 years, those dollars are there so you can keep up with the cost of goods, right? And so there's no perfect solution here, right? But we'll at least paint the picture, we'll show it to you, and you get to decide. Here's the other issue with pensions. If you're going to collect a pension from your employer, and you have a surviving spouse that outlives you, are you going to take income for life just on your life? Or are you going to do joint income for both of your lives? Or are you going to say, hey, I'll take my income for life, and if I pass away, only 50% gets passed down to my spouse, or maybe 100%. But when you take 100%, you get less now. So you have to make those critical decisions. And I'm going to tell you, Randy, 5 out of 10 times when people come to my office, they don't make the right decision because they haven't done the math, and they don't realize that when the spouse passes, not only do we lose one Social Security check, we might lose all that pension or half that pension. And if that is you, we have a backup plan for that surviving spouse, but you're not going to know unless you come in, and you're not going to know if we can't build it out for you for that what if day. What if that happens? It's always about an if. We don't really know, but we can plan. We can help you plan to keep up with inflation. So don't go and retire. Don't go and take that income for life from the employer until we do the plan. Because a lot of times I will advise, we're not biased here. I'll say, yeah, no, I think this is a great deal. Take this pension with your employer. So you get in a real fiduciary look at what you should or shouldn't do. And be careful if you think you're going to take that lump sum and put it in an IRA and start paying off your debt. That is the worst thing you could do. And you will likely be that person that runs out of money in the next, 10 to 15 years, if not sooner. So that's not the fix all. So let's at least talk about it.
We talk about doing the math on your retirement. Let's do the math on your pension. If you have that pension coming, there's a big decision. They talk about one of the biggest decisions that you'll make in your retirement is when you're going to take Social Security. If you have a pension, probably the biggest decision you will make is, do I take the monthly income or do I take a lump sum? Let's do the math on that for you at Zinnia Wealth.
Thanks for listening to the Retirement Coffee Talk podcast. If you have questions or would like to begin the process of building a tailored retirement plan, call Zinnia Wealth at 803-368-3680 or find us online at zinniawealth.com.
Charisse Rivers is an investment advisor representative of Zinnia Wealth Advisory, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments can fluctuate and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Charisse Rivers is licensed in your state, please contact their office. Zinnia Wealth Advisory, LLC is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Any client experiences discussed during this show are unique to that client. They are not meant to imply or suggest you will experience the same results. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Charisse Rivers, NPN Insurance License Number 8718011.